G'day, Rachel here from Pinup and Nostalgia Image Creations. Today I've got for you a DIY tutorial on bridal pinup makeup. I've already moisturised with my favourite rose face cream from Vintage Honey's Parlour, and now I'm just going to reinforce that hydration with a rose mist spray from Wet n Wild. No matter what skin type you have, it's very important to keep it well hydrated, as this will create the best base to apply your makeup to. If you don't already have a skincare routine that works for you, ideally it's best to start a simple cleansing and moisturising routine at least a week before the wedding, and longer if possible. Here I'm just patting in the remainder of that hydration spray so I can go on to my next step, which is applying sunscreen. I'm using this clear zinc sunscreen from Key Sun SPF 50+, which you can pick up from Briscoe's of all places. As well as protecting you from the sun, this is going to create the perfect tacky base to apply your makeup to, and unlike most generic primers, will actually extend the longevity of your makeup. Use a decent amount and make sure you cover your ears and neck as well. There's no need to worry about a flashback or white cast with this sunscreen. It becomes truly invisible once rubbed in. Now give it a few minutes to settle. Now time to prime the eyes with e.l.f. Putty Eye Primer. It's important to take your time with this step to ensure even coverage, as this will really affect the way your eyeshadow is applied and the finished result. And now I'm using my Wet n Wild Photo Focus Translucent Loose Setting Powder, very well loved as you can see, and a Wet n Wild crease brush to go ahead and set those lids. Next on my list is lining the waterline of my upper lid with this water-resistant retractable liner from designer brands. Onto eyeshadow, and I'm using Essence brand the Nude Edition palette. It has some beautiful warm and neutral tones, perfect for the bridal look. Using this flat shader brush from Wet n Wild, I'm going to go into the first colour and cover my entire lid with it. The reason I'm using this white shadow all over the lid is to correct the slightly yellow tone of the eye primer, which will camouflage it into my very fair and pink undertones. And here you can see the difference. Going back in with the crease brush now into the second deepest colour to go ahead and colour my crease in and to begin the shape of a wing. A little tidbit here is to start with the bulk of the colour below where you want it to end up and blend up to it. Don't worry about fallout, we haven't done our foundation yet, so just sweep away with a clean brush. Keep on blending until you reach a nice gradient effect. Using the same crease brush, I'm going in with the deepest colour to create a small inner V, which will further enhance the cat eye look. Now the colour's packed on nicely, time to blend out with a large fluffy blending brush. Using the same flat shading brush from earlier, I'm going to pick up some of that first shimmer shade and place that on the inner half of my eyelid. If you're not getting the best colour payoff from your shadows, go ahead and coat your brush before wetting it down with your setting spray, and that should give you much more bang for your buck. And now I'm just covering the inner corners of my eye along with the rest of the first half of the eyelid. Jumping into the second deepest shimmer shadow, which I'm going to use to transition the lightest colour into the deepest. And of course for this one as well, I ended up going back and using the swipe and spray method too. Now to mimic that on the other eyelid, remember if it's not quite doing what you're wanting it to do, just keep on blending, have faith in the process. And if that cheeky fallout gets out of control, here's the best way to clean it up without ruining your skincare. Grab a tissue, spray with setting or hydration spray, and wipe gently. Right, time to get rid of these nasty bad boys. Nobody wants to see them on the wedding day. I'm using Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Concealer in shade CO.5 to cover those blemishes and to highlight the top of the cheekbones. Now listen closely. Do not blend the concealer. That's right, put that beauty sponge down. Let it set down for a couple of minutes before using your finger to blend out the edges only. Once you've softened those edges, it's time to apply foundation. I'm using Catrice HD Liquid Coverage Foundation in shade Porcelain Beige. Using soft bouncing motions with my beauty sponge, I'm starting in the center of my face where I want the most coverage and working my way out to the edges. Just like with the eye primer, I'm taking my time to perfect my base. I'm taking care to cover all areas including my ears and blending down my neck, but I am leaving the inner half of my under eye because I'll be going back in with concealer to cover and brighten those areas. I really encourage using as little product as possible under the eyes to avoid creasing and a crepey texture. Now I'm going to set my face using this large powder brush and my Wet n Wild setting powder. I'm tapping off most of the powder to keep to my minimal products philosophy. To start with, I'm just pressing it gently under my eyes, over my nose, and then sweeping the rest over the cheeks and remainder of the face. As you can see, that was one dip for the entire face. Now going back in with that fluffy crease brush, using the residual product and not adding any more to the brush, I'm going to correct that outer V now that the foundation has been laid. I'm also bringing a little bit of that shadow just to the outer third of the bottom lash line. And with the still damp flat shading brush, just going in again with that first light shimmer shade to highlight the inner corners. Now I'm going in with the Wet n Wild contour brush and designer brand's Make and Blush in Peach Glow to give my cheeks some colour. Remember to use gentle sweeping motions, and particularly with a tapered end brush like this, just going in one direction so that you're not damaging your bristles. This blush is not lying when it says Peach Glow. It has a beautiful champagne shift. I'll show you in just a moment. When I turn my cheek to the side, you'll be able to see that perfect glow. And just blending out those edges for a seamless look. Now that we're done with our powder, let's rehydrate with that rose misting spray from Wet n Wild before we jump in with some highlighter for a bit more of that beautiful glow. I'm using another tried and true Wet n Wild product, their loose highlighting powder in shade I'm So Lit. The only thing I wasn't able to get from a physical store was a highlighting brush, so I'm using my Morphe one, but Wet n Wild do sell one if you have a retailer in your area. I'm placing my highlighter down the center of my nose and then adding a little to the end, as well as in a C shape from my eyebrow to the apple of my cheek, and just a touch on the cupid's bow. I find this to be the most flattering for my face type, as it's where the sun typically hits first. If you'd like some advice on where to place your highlighter or any other beauty products, of course let me know down below. Now onto what's arguably the most important part of a bridal pinup look, eyeliner. I'm using a fine felt tip pen liner. It's Catrice Tattoo Liner in waterproof black, and this is going to be your secret weapon in getting the most perfect pointed pin-up wing you could possibly have. Remember, when placing your eyeliner, look straight ahead into the mirror with eyes open and don't stretch your skin out. Another tip for my fellow hooded-eyed beauties is to keep the line close to your lashes so that we can see your beautiful line work. Take your time with your liner, using small short strokes at a time, but do remember, if you make a mistake, it's just makeup and you can wipe it off and start again. Time to get those brows in order. I'm going to start with a quick brush through with a spoolie before going in with my MCO brow pen in medium brown. It's a bit hard to see on camera, but this one has 3 prongs at the end with sharp edges so that it can create fine hair-like strokes. I do usually use a pomade, but today for the bridal look, I thought I'd go with a more natural type of brow. As you can see, I'm adding some more fullness to the beginning of the brow by adding upward strokes and following on with smooth strokes, edging into the inner arches of the brow. I'm taking care to ensure that the first 2/3 of my brows are the same thickness and the tails taper off to a fine point. This brow pen is super easy to use as it can be applied in small stages, and I can certainly attest to its longevity. And that's the brows done. Now we're just going to do a coat of Maybelline Lash Sensational Waterproof. When paired with good skin prep and an eyeshadow primer, this mascara will last you all through the day and into the night and is transfer proof. The curved shape of the wand tip and long bristles make for an excellent applicator. Starting at the very base and wiggling through to the ends of the lashes, I'm making sure I get a good coat on every single individual lash. And let's finish those top lashes with some beautiful false lashes. These ones from MCO Beauty come pre-glued, so all you need to do is peel and stick. Simple. They also come with this handy applicator tool so that you can stick both ends down at the same time. Just add a little more mascara to blend the lashes in with your own, and then a quick touch up with a liner at the very ends of the lashes. Lastly, for the lashes, a quick coat of mascara to the bottom. As you might be able to see, my eyes were a little watery that day, so I touched up quickly with a Q-tip and just going in again with a little more of that shimmer powder. And the last touch every pinup bride needs is a red lip. I'm starting mine off with the Essence Stay 8-Hour Lip Liner in shade 08 Passionate. The outline I'm creating will be an excellent guide for the liquid lip I'm about to go in with, and colouring in the entire lip is great to use as a backup in case your liquid lip starts to fade with all that kissing, eating and drinking. Maybelline Superstay Matte Ink in shade 118 Dancer is so close to a true red that it gives your look an instant vintage vibe. If you like, you can top this with a clear gloss for a shinier finish, however this may affect the longevity of your lip. And this is how my pinup bridal look turned out. You may have noticed that all of the products I used in this look are easily accessible and affordable, and most of you throughout the country should be able to find these in local stores. I hope you found this video enjoyable to watch and maybe learned a trick or two. Do remember to go ahead and hit subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video, and for now I'll see you in the next one.